Okay, Carrie Ann, did you manage to watch that video I did with Chester for
You know
last
what?
week?
I did not. We've had a lot going on here. I think I told
Yeah,
you, son came in last week, and we
yeah.
had doctor's appointments and all kinds of things going on.
Well,
Uh,
it's okay, not to worry. What we're
yeah.
doing today ties in with it.
Oh, okay, good. Good.
Because it's very sad. Um, Chester is one of us, although he's an MD and he works in hospice.
Mhm.
Um, but he's had a diagnosis and he's got 3 to 5 years left.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
and
Diagnosis of
it, pulmonary, so it's not a heart, it's something to do with his lungs, and I can't remember the exact name of it, but he will basically, and because he's a
stop
doctor, he knows
breathing.
how he'll die. um
Oh,
he'll he'll asphyxiate.
yeah.
And what was upsetting him, and we're both crying on the video, so make sure you have
Oh my
tissues.
gosh. I hope I get
um
to see it. Is it on
Yeah, I've
the
put it on the
Facebook?
Facebook. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
And I say it's a sad one. Um, he's
Oh,
concerned.
Claudia, too, I just want to let you know I have to kind of watch my time. I don't know if I have a time on here or not.
What time do
I
you
have
have
to
to
go
leave?
get my phone. I'm going to have to leave at the very latest at about 10 minutes early
Oh,
because
that's fine. That's fine.
in
We'll
15
we'll be
minutes.
wrapped up. We'll
Okay.
we'll make
Give me a
sure we.
second. I want to go get my phone so I can keep track of the time.
Yeah, I will for you as well.
We're good. At least it's because I can't tell time on the Zoom thing.
Yeah, no, I can. I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
okay, so the what he was upset about was more for his granddaughter. And so he
No,
has
what was his name again?
Chester Durness.
Chester.
He has a connection with his granddaughter. He's got other grandchildren, but he's got a very strong connection with this particular one.
Mm-hmm.
So and it was like, she knows there's something wrong, and she was saying to her mum, "What's wrong with granddad's heart?" So
Yeah.
that's where children generally will go to, a heart, as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
another. People hear about hearts. Um, so he was very upset because he doesn't know how to do this. So I was explaining to him about if he starts now playing the bunny with her, the bunny talk process that I
Mm-hmm.
developed, then whenever she sees bunnies as she grows up, she will always think of him,
Oh, yeah.
because bunnies are prolific. They're everywhere. There will always be bunnies, and then she will always be able to, because that's what we often think about, isn't it? We think about our loved ones when we see a red cardinal, or a feather, or a butterfly, or a
Probably a lot of
dragonfly,
people.
or
Yeah.
we just get those little messages.
My neighbor is connected to the hummingbirds.
There you go, hummingbirds. Yes. So there's always something that we can do. Now, so what I thought we'd do this week really is the fear of death. Because if we're
Okay.
seeing people living with dementia, it's and actually at the end of the day, it's something that I can pretty much predict for every single one of us, or I can
Sure.
predict
Sure.
taxes
Absolutely.
and death.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a sure thing. However, I don't know if you got that. I sent everybody a thing about death. Did you get it as a
I
handout?
don't know
I
that I
sent it
got it.
last week
Let me
or
look
the
for my
beginning. Yeah.
let me look for my little
But there's a wonderful quote in there from Mark Twain that says, and it goes along the lines of, I won't say it perfectly, but along the lines of,
Mhm.
uh, man need not fear death if he's lived a good life.
Yeah.
If you've
Yeah.
actually done something with your life, then why would you fear it?
Yeah.
And I think that's true. So what I would encourage again us to do when we're seeing people is, that's why we have that. Do you remember that triangle one of bringing the person back?
Yes. Yes.
Making them, what have they achieved? What have they done? Look at the legacy
Focus
they've
on the
left.
good.
Yes. And therefore it's, oh, I have done this, I have done that, I've, what they have, and therefore it's just less worry, because you have left a legacy, and this is what people can remember you by, and it's yes. So it's remember, people will always probably have a certain fear. If they do, I know I personally don't necessarily fear death. It's more, I think it's not necessarily the death, it's how.
Yeah, that's what I
People
always say.
die.
I always say that it's not dying, it's how you die is what we're more afraid of, I think.
Yeah. And is it
Like
going to
you
be,
said, the Chester was saying, he knows
yeah, he
pretty
knows
much
it's going to
how that's
asphyxiate.
going to be.
Yeah. So, however, he also knows, because he works in hospice, he knows that he will also be given lots of morphine.
Right. And that just is like it's slowly.
Yeah. So to get rid of the pain, and it's 3 to 5 years. He doesn't know. It could, it's like, just depends on what's happening. So, but
How old is he?
He's 73.
Okay.
So young.
Yeah.
It's however, it wasn't long ago, what was it, 3 score and 10,
Yeah.
that's what they used to say. So anything after that is a bonus. However, nowadays we know there a lot of people are living up until they're 100. So
I think they just keep coming up with new things. Yeah.
I know.
I know, we were surprised for my husband. So that was, yeah. So
Yeah, so they keep people alive, and it's good.
Yeah.
And it's, it's great. However, sometimes, I suppose it can be a bit of a shock when they can't, they can't find something. So there's the whole roller coaster of emotions then we have for the caregiver as well. And we've got to think about that, because we're seeing people living with dementia, and we would be, or anybody really, and we'll be seeing people, the caregivers of, so death covers all of us. So this is, you might be, so if Gary was watching this, it would be like he sees people who are terminally ill, say through cancer, and so might we, because they're coming to us for just help anyway, because they know that, because they know you do a lot of spiritual stuff as well, don't you? And helping people, say transition into different areas of their life. So it's a very tricky, sensitive subject, death. However, is it? Because it's so natural. And I think, and yet people pussyfoot around it so much. And if we spoke about it a little bit more, like, well, when I die, when we die, when, and actually talk about it, this is what I want at my funeral, then I think it would become more the norm, for people going, oh yes, I will die at some point. But for some reason, I don't know what you think, Carrie Ann, but people don't talk about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. They don't talk about it.
And therefore it becomes scary, if we don't talk about it, or it's a bad thing to happen, and yet it's so natural. And grief, our pets die.
Right.
So it's like, well, and then
the animals just kind of walk off into the desert, That's what they do.
Do they, where you are?
Yeah, when they're ready to die, they walk off in the desert. to die, or wherever they are, not necessarily the desert, but here it's a desert. Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah.
When they're done, they
Yeah.
they're gonna die. I know I had one dog that was had cancer really bad. And it's like the one doctor that I had and another holistic vet were working together. They were came up with a plan to help, keep her on. And I just asked her, I said, what do you want? And she just stopped eating. And, you know, that day she just stopped eating.
Yeah.
And that was it,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the
She
same
was
with,
letting me know, I'm not going to go with this new food. I'm not going to go with this medication. I'm
I'm
done.
done. I'm
I'm
done.
done.
Yeah, I knew when my
Yeah.
dog was done. And I think the same with sometimes people, they know when they're done. That's why they stop eating. Or
Right.
it's often,
Right. Exactly. That's
yeah,
true.
or it's often a
My mother
fall.
did that.
A fall, precedes that,
Oh, some kind of a fall.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
And that can precede it as well. So it's but yeah, I do think it's a roller coaster for emotions for our caregivers, because of course
Mhm.
they don't want necessarily their loved ones to pass on, but then it's like, but life's so hard for them that actually
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
it's that roller coaster of like, yeah, life would be a lot easier if they do die,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
as a caregiver they're often trapped,
It's a
or
hard
they get
thing.
ill, or they get ill themselves,
Right. Right.
from the sheer stress of having
Mhm.
to look after somebody living with any illness, let alone dementia.
Dementia.
So it's I wrote some of the notes here, and I can always send them on.
That'd
So
be great.
because it's about, well, how can we help? How can we help as hypnotherapists? And I think, first of all, I think it's the whole thing of is normalizing it for
Yeah.
the caregiver, that they will have a roller coaster of emotions,
Mhm.
and that it's okay,
Yeah.
because they will feel guilt if they have that thought of, oh my gosh, it'll be a relief.
Yeah.
And we need to say it's okay, that so does everybody else have that thought,
Yeah.
because guilt can cause so much shame, and and that's another whole thing in itself then.
Sure.
um
And I think that comes a lot with the caregivers because, when things get tough, they start feeling guilty. What can't I'm supposed to be doing something. Why can't I do anything? Or, you
yeah,
know,
or how dare I have a rest?
right,
You know?
right.
It's like
Or
no.
when they do have a rest, something happens and then, uh, you know,
Yeah, and they feel that I should have been there, and all those things.
exactly.
So I've got uh yeah, and this is interesting. So let's think about, so I've got some little headers here for us. Common emotional experiences. So they've got confusion about time and place may trigger fear that something is ending. However, we know that they sometimes have moments of lucidity and of their awareness that they are dying. So we have to be, so it's like, ooh, that can be tricky. And then I don't know what your beliefs are, and that's why I think it's always helpful to understand people's spiritual
Whatever
connection.
they are. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important that we come from where they are.
Yeah. And if they have that's it, they're dead, then that's where also we have to go from. We can't, who are we to change people's beliefs?
Yeah.
Um,
I
the
haven't had too much of that. Usually people they believe in something. In
Yeah.
25 years, I think I've had two people that absolutely, you
Mhm. I will agree.
are.
I don't have many, and to be honest, they don't they come to me for coaching anyway. They don't come to me necessarily for hypnosis. They just know, because I'll ask them the difficult questions. But yeah, you're right, Carrie Ann. Most people who would contact us would they believe in souls. So, however, they might, but their family might not. They might have family that don't. So again, we've got to be open and go, okay.
Yeah, accepting, that's what it is. And families, I think it's really important that we are accepting of everything. I know our son, I'm gonna close the door. Our son converted to Orthodox Judaism. And I mean, that was a huge conversion.
Yeah.
And it was, just had to accept that.
Yeah.
That's what he chose. And, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And even on his part, he had to be okay that he made that choice and that we could still stay in a nice relationship, even though.
Yeah.
Even though there's that difference of belief and stuff. Because I know one time he said, a lot of people that do this, they completely, they separate from their family. And I said, well, that's not my choice. I said, I choose to be in relationship with you all my life. And, what do we need to do to maintain that relationship? It'll be a little different than what normal people would do or normal, but oh well.
Yeah.
Accepting. It's accepting. Yeah.
I
think that was a great lesson for him because he's had to do that with his own kids now.
Yeah, because that word acceptance is massive. It goes along, I think, with the same word as choice.
Yes.
Choice and acceptance. A huge. I love that you mentioned that. Thank you, and for saying that. That's helpful. So how can we help as hypnotists? So I think the whole thing of the sensory anchoring that we can do for people, help them with the music that they like, if they've got, as I say, if they're passing, and with their loved ones, is to have those music films, just have those rolling. There are just some films that people love. I mean, whether hey, you're in the Wild West, if you've got Clint Eastwood person, have the Wild West ones going, the theme tune. It's like, because it reminds people of happier times, maybe, again, every you can have to be, that's when we get curious.
Yeah.
And what can people have playing, so that they have that. Again, there's the havening touch. It's soothing. Apparently, when my grandma was dying, that's what I did. I was little, and I was sat by her bed, and that was what I did. I just stroked her hand, and I just knew to do it. That was all I did. I just couldn't speak to her. I didn't know what to say.
It's amazing instincts. Yeah.
Yeah, she was asleep a lot of the time, but I just stroked her hand.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, isn't it? So it's all that sort of thing that we can stroke people, and that's the comfort of it. So it's and then I think what is really nice as people are passing is when people are coming visiting family members, is to say, if they're sitting around as somebody's passing, is to tell the nice stories.
Yeah.
Share the stories that they remember people by, good stories, so that, because hearing is one of the last senses to go. And when we can tell lovely stories about that person and they're listening to them, I think the soul, even if their mind is gone, the soul will still hear the tone and the love,
the joy in the telling.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're going to be telling joyful stories.
Yeah. And
fun stories and,
yeah, and
you
fun
know,
stories, yeah, or naughty stories, or whatever it is, because there will always be those amusing times. And
yeah.
then I think that if the family are there, then that is also nice for the caregiver as
Mhm,
well, because
mhm.
then it's like they're talking about that person in a good way, and they also are also then remembering who their loved one was.
Mhm.
And it's not that finite thing of their last few years of the dementia,
Yeah,
that actually they had left a whole wonderful life as well. Does that make
yeah,
sense? So I
yeah.
think this goes with for anybody dying, but it's all those lovely things. My an uncle of mine just recently died, that last Saturday, actually, back in England. And
Mhm.
I was telling an auntie of
Right.
mine, she said, "Oh, I will always remember him because at a christening, there was the vicar came, we've got a bit of a problem. There's no organ player." And my uncle, who was passed, he said, "I can help. I can play the organ. Can I play it?" So
Oh,
he stepped up and played the organ in the old church. So
mhm.
that's a nice memory, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And it's like, and I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
it's like that's something to cherish.
Yeah.
Uh, so there's always somebody has a memory that you might not have that can be shared. And now that's a new memory for you.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that's why these little stories, these little things, and that's why people do have funerals. So
Yeah.
it's the little stories, the little things can come out. I remember this person. I remember this person when, and I think that I think that can only be a good thing.
Yeah. My husband's mother crocheted and she crocheted constantly. So she crocheted for everybody. He has a really big family. And I remember at the funeral, they were doing something and they said, how many people here have one of the uh, nieces said, how many people here have an Afghan that Georgia made? And the whole congregation raised their hand,
Now, now
So
that's special.
yeah, that type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that exactly that kind of thing. And then
Spread her.
everybody, it would have been funny if
Oh,
everybody had come in them.
yeah.
Everybody.
Yes, everybody had their Afghan with them. Yep. Yep. Yep.
That would have been fun.
Yeah,
But
it was like that was her goal to make sure everybody had an Afghan.
yeah. No, isn't that lovely?
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
really is. She's a sweet, sweet
Yeah.
lady.
No, I love that.
Really
So there
was.
you go. So
You
that
know.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's, and then of course we know that we can help people with breath work and relaxation and those things so that we can reduce panic,
Yeah.
because they can
Yeah.
get very short of breath and panicky. And that's where we can give them the techniques and strategies of, just take nice, and again, the calming, the soothing for themselves. And so I think that can be really nice. Um, uh, so I think, again, for the caregivers, it's about helping them with the burnout and then suddenly I think what happens with a lot of them is that they're so busy looking after after the person with dementia, and then they do die, and then they're left with this big void, and now they've got a big hole in their life.
Yeah.
And
My brother did that.
okay,
Mother was in a nursing home and he's promised my dad he was going to take care of her. And he we got her a place that, would be good. And then, of course, as she went on, her dementia just
fine.
got worse and worse and worse and worse. But he would go every day
There you go.
to see her.
Yeah.
or almost every day.
Yeah.
And you know what? After she died, because he got connected to the place
Yeah.
and even some of the other people there, he would go and visit. And finally, the nurses said, "You have to stop coming. You have to stop coming. It's not here anymore. And, you know, it's not
Yeah.
appropriate for you to keep coming."
Wow.
So, yeah,
Yeah. So it's about having that conversation
yeah.
with somebody, I
Mm.
think, prior, they sort of like, with, what will you look forward to doing
Mhm.
to fill this when this void, so because it's like I
Oh,
call
yeah,
it like a
that's a
basket.
good way to put that, I think.
Yeah, and it could be a bit of traveling, it could be going again. I've got, there's one gentleman, and he has actually made it his life's mission to try and get the uh people, psychiatrists and psychologists, to understand that hypnotherapy could help people living with dementia. um and it's a very hard one, and he got in touch with me. But it's like I don't know enough of the powers that be, and it's only, because I'm not a doctor. I tried to get Dr. Daniel Nightingale and Anchester to help him, but again, and he's a lawyer up in Boston.
Mhm.
But he thinks that hypnosis is a much kinder way to help people living with dementia, to anchor themselves into good states, so that they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
get, say, so angry, just so that they are, give them post-hypnotic suggestions, so that it's easier for the
And is
caregiver.
that, are they, do you think, uh, more,
Drugs.
yeah, they do drugs, I
It's
know.
just drugs.
But are they extremely susceptible to receiving suggestion? Like maybe someone that was in an emergency situation, usually they're very willing to take suggestion. Do you think that those that have dementia are willing to do that as well?
I
'Cause
think
I've not worked
don't know
specifically
enough. But I think if you get them in their early stages, and then you can give them some nice post-hypnotic suggestions, about, and teaching the caregiver just to give them, as we know, time is such an
Mhm.
important thing for people. But that he's that's what he's filled his void with.
Mhm.
Anything that he can do to help um other people. So he helps people on groups and things like that,
Oh,
um, to fill that void.
yeah,
Because if your loved one has died, that is a big egg out of your basket of eggs of
yeah,
things that you're doing, and
yeah.
especially when you're older,
Mhm.
because it's, and because they were a big egg always there. Say they were your ostrich egg. you know
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
him it was his wife that passed, and it's so the only way he could fill his basket of things to do was to help on, um help in areas on Facebook and other groups and things like that, and be a support. So that's how he did it. So it's like, as I say, when somebody's older and they can't necessarily go, um for traveling and things like that, they don't have that inclination to, because again, it's when people are older, they can be fear traveling.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, it's very busy, and because it is, things get busier. you know
Mhm. And yeah, it takes some time and even just navigating airports and things like that when people don't have the capacity to maybe move like they once did.
yeah, so everything's slower, and so how can they fill that void? What can they look forward to doing? And it could be that they write their memoirs, they write their whatever, they garden, they join some other clubs for I don't know, whether it be antique shopping, antique, looking around. I mean, in England, there's lots of antique places, old houses and things to look at. But it could be gardening, it could be, it could be just something where they can spend their time. And what would they like to do now? But I think that conversation might actually need to be had before the person passes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that it's not such that whole void can be devastating.
Yeah.
Because it's like suddenly they lose their identity again. Well, they'd lost their identity already when their partner, because it was a loss then of their life when their partner got dementia. Then they became a caregiver. They took on that identity. And then that goes, now what?
Yeah.
So they got to find another identity. So it's about, I think for us, it's about what other hobbies have you got? So I've got a client of mine at the moment. She sings, which is great. She's in a choir. She does that separate. What else do you do? She does something else that's separate. It's like having separate things. I think I know a lot of people are into Bible studies and Bible group. That's good. It's all, what else? We get curious. What would you like to do? And then maybe we help them find some other area, or just get curious. What did they used to like doing? What would they like? What would they like to know more about? But that's where we can support, because we already know there's going to be a void.
Yeah.
We know there is.
Yeah. So, that is, as I said, the word remembering, it's always like remember, getting back in touch with that person.
Yeah, I love that. Remembering yourself.
Right.
It's a really good word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think people lose themselves.
Oh, absolutely. Like any big life challenges, people have a tendency to lose themselves. I know with almost everybody I work with, it's like, let's get back in touch with you, who you are, so.
And that's what I mean. As I say, there's so many different types of loss. For some, of course, some women, we know it's when their or men, when the children leave home.
It's a really difficult thing.
Yeah, the empty nesting thing to some people, because they haven't, if that's all, they haven't got anything else in place ready, where they can reinvent themselves. So it's, again, we've got to find somebody where they're at their age. And I think this is where family is very, very powerful, can really help.
It is. It's really, really important to him.
So it's there's lots of things there. It's a meaty discussion, but I think it's one that needs to be had with the caregiver, and possibly separately, because I know I've seen, I don't know what my hair's doing. I know I've seen
your hair.
I've seen people who have been when I saw them living with cancer, and they were dying, and it was like they were saying, I don't fear death, it's just that I can't talk about it to my family because I think it upsets them, so I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Right.
And
so how do we open that discussion?
Well, again, for the person who's living with dementia, it depends on where they are with their journey. I think I think it's not for us to necessarily open it up. It's more if they do, and just for us to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
I would think Gary will probably have more of these conversations than say we do.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
by the time
Daddy can't hear, he probably has some
yeah,
good insight on all that.
yeah, by the time somebody's living or dying with dementia, they're probably in a home.
Yeah.
And we probably aren't involved at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, it's more with the for the caregiver, if the caregiver still wants to be working with us.
Yeah.
To have that conversation, but it's definitely worth mentioning because I remember holding space for that person while they were talking about that, because they couldn't talk about death with anybody else, their family members. No, I don't want to talk about it. No, they wouldn't go there. But
Did they approach the subject of death with you, or did you?
Yeah, they did.
They did. Because it's all about them, right?
Yeah.
Wherever they are.
Yeah. And so it's for us to not be, oh, I can't talk about it either. We have to. It's like, yeah, it's hard. Yeah. And just agree with them and listen. That's why, of course, and hold space. Because, if somebody has a fear of any kind of fear, but the family don't want to talk about it, or what are they meant to do with it?
Yeah.
So it's for us.
So that's the gift, really, to have us there to be a sounding board for them when they need it.
And give them those things like this. Hey, you can do your havening, the breathing techniques. And if they fear, and what anchors can they give to their family? So that, I think, so that their family know that they're there. So I've said with Chester, if he plays bunnies now, that's from my book. If he does that now with his granddaughter, because she's only 5, if he does Grandpa Bunny and she does Baby Bunny and they have little conversations, they're bunnies.
She can continue to have that conversation afterwards.
Yes. And even because you see, a lot of it's interesting. A lot of people will say to me, well, why don't you just use puppets? Well, what if you forget your puppet? What if you lose your puppet?
I think this is a great idea.
You'll always, unless you're in an Arab country and get caught for stealing, then you'll always have your hand, hopefully. So it's like, you've always got that. And even at if he's in a hospice, then, and she comes to visit, he's still got his bunny. It's not like, oh, where's my rabbit? Oh, get it out of the cupboard. Where is it? It's in that drawer. It's in that. No, it's there. It's there.
I like that.
It's there.
I like it.
And I think that's why when I say the whole bunny talk process, it actually transcends generations. Sure. It really does, because anybody at any point can use it. Yeah. And I've always said to my daughter, if I ever get dementia, will you talk to me with the bunnies? Because we played with them when she was little. We know our little bunny talk. And that's anchored in now. Yeah. So it's like, so what can we do for people now? If they've got grandchildren, why don't you could play this game with them? Yeah. Sure. And teach them, because it's like, well, what do I talk to my grandchildren about? Well, do you know what? There's a lot of things that grandparents can teach their children, the little ones. Yeah. All the easy stuff. How many days are in the year? Did you know there was a leap year? What day is that? How often does that come round? These are all really important things, and it keeps their mind going. The simple math that they can do. And then again, because I think cursive handwriting is actually very good for the brain. It's been known, and I think they're bringing it back.
Oh,
I
yeah.
bet you learned cursive handwriting.
Oh, yeah,
I
absolutely.
did in America.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I taught my
Absolutely.
daughter how to write cursive because she
Yeah.
wanted to know, well, what are you doing there? How are you holding your pen?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Interesting, isn't it?
It is. It
It's
is
that,
very
it's that, that's
interesting.
how, you know,
My
and
little bunny has ability to write as well.
I kind of, so I think,
Yeah.
and grandparents can teach, and then the child, oh, I remember granny or grandpa from, they taught me how to write.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how you play with your grandchild.
Yeah.
Because yeah, are they going to want to be playing with the iPad and stuff? Probably,
Yeah.
but not all the time.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
all the time. You
Sure.
can do that. There are times when a child is not on that.
Yeah.
So there are things that grandparents can do.
Right.
And I think that anchors. So it just, for him, it helped him that he had something that he could do with his.
So he's enjoying doing that, or he just learned it? Or?
Yeah, so I'm hoping he'll do it next time he sees her. He'll have a chat with her with the bunnies.
Yeah. Very nice.
Because it was
I
like,
know
what?
sometime I want to do it too.
Yeah. He said, what can I do? What can I do to to help? How can I help her? How can I help her? And I said, well,
it's
you
so it's great that he's
start
so
playing
conscious
now.
of that. Yeah.
You start playing now and have
Yeah.
your little thing so that as she grows up, all through her lifetime, whenever she sees a bunny, she'll think of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you'll help her, because then she knows you're always in her heart.
Right.
Because I can't stop the dying and I can't stop the grief.
Yeah.
But we can bring in that peace aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we see your friend, she sees the hummingbird. When we see a feather, when we see whatever, or an animal or anything, you think, oh,
Right.
I think they're coming to say hello to me.
Yeah.
And then it's peace.
It is. It's really brought her a lot of peace. She's had a couple rough deaths in her life, so that's really brought her quite a bit of peace.
I think it does.
Her son. It was her son who passed.
And that's horrible.
Yeah.
It's hard.
He was killed. Yeah, it was not.
No, because it's not just the wrong way around. Yeah, it's the wrong way around.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but she has her hummingbirds come and see her. She said, even if she thinks about them, they'll come right up to the window. She has so many stories about her hummingbirds.
There you go. Yeah. And I think it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
We're connected in so many ways.
It's an energy. Yeah. It's a life energy.
Yes.
And even in Arizona, you see, you have jackrabbits.
Yeah, we do.
I know. I've been taking photographs with them doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we
do. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I love it because my husband's called Jack, so I find it quite funny.
Jack.
I love it.
That's great.
So yeah, so that was I think that was a really good conversation that needed to be had, that we had just discussing that there. I'll put the link to my ebook in this.
Yeah, do that, because I really want to see that video. Yeah, I need to get going, it looks like here.
Yeah, I know it's time.
I truly apologize about that, but
that's all right. We'll just end up talking more about it. But what I'll do is I'll send these notes as well to you, and that I've got there. All right.
Okay. All right. Well, be off and have a wonderful day. What are you going to do today?
Go for a hike because it's a bit cooler.
Good. Yeah, you'll love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
great.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.